Good afternoon. This is the Historic District Commission, Town of Fairfield. Today is February 27th, 2024. The notice of this hearing was published on the Fairfield website. Let's go ahead and take attendance.
Hi, I'm Darren Raymond Locke, Commissioner.
Hi, I'm Laura Garrick, alternate commissioner.
And Jim Accomando.
And I'm Rosina Negron, Commissioner. I believe Greg Valente, which is an alternate commissioner, will be coming in a little bit late. Absent today are Art Gravanis, George Clark, Jim Bohan. Maura will be voting in everything today. The first item on the agenda is to draft a letter to RTM for a property located at 515 Stilson Road regarding the designation as a local historic property.
I'm going to recuse myself since this is my home.
Let me know when I can come back.
So basically, the Historic District Commission read the report as well as the state Historic Preservation Office and Town Planning and Zoning. And we all approved what was presented to us. And the next thing is for RTM to designate it as a local historic property outside of the 3 districts, which at the moment we have 10 other properties designated outside. So this will be number 11. I went ahead and drafted a little sample letter that we can criticize, add on, and delete things. So it is to Marcy Spoliar, who's the moderator of the RTM. And it says, "Dear Ms. Spoiler, the Town of Fairfield Historic District Commission hereby requests the representative town meeting considers a new locally designated historic property, the Caroline Walker Sherwood House, located at 515 Stilson Road. The Caroline Walker Sherwood House falls outside of the 3 designated historic districts in the town of Fairfield, was placed on the State Register of Historic Properties in November 2021, and contributes to the historic fabric of Fairfield. Enclosed is the local historic property study report for 515 Stilson Road, presented to Town Planning and Zoning and approved by the Connecticut State Historic Preservation Office and the Fairfield Historic District for your review and approval. Approval of this locally designated property will require a revision to the Code of Town of Fairfield, Connecticut, Chapter 26, 26-7.2, designated historic properties to include 515 Stilson Road. The Historic District Commission recommends the approval of 515 Stilson Road as a locally designated historic property and appreciates your consideration with regard to this matter." So that is what we have as a draft. Let's go ahead and discuss if there's anything that we need to add or
The
remove.
only question I have is, since you mentioned there's 10 previous, is there anything missing in this letter that would be included in the other letters for the RTM? Do you know of, or I don't know how far back the 10th property was?
So the last property, I did the historic report. However, I was not involved in sending all the stuff to the RTM. So I'm not 100% sure what was sent to them. I'm kind of working with nothing at the moment, so.
My only comment is on the last sentence of the second paragraph of approval of this locally designated property will require a revision of the code, blah, blah, blah. Who has to do that? Who physically does that? Do we know?
If I'm not mistaken, it is RTM that also needs to approve the revisions to the code.
Okay, and then they then have to contact zoning, or do they have to, like, what is do we know what the process is?
Not 100% sure, but I'll
Because I'm just saying, it's like whether that should go in of saying, we are, as required, requesting RTM to approve this and then instruct blah, blah, blah to whatever it has to happen, right? Because then it's crystal clear.
Yes,
Does that make sense?
yes. Because it's basically per the, let me see.
It almost seems like it would go to the zoning logs.
Right.
So basically, as stipulated under chapter 97A of the Connecticut statutes, historic districts and historic properties, if the representative town meeting approved 515 Stilson Road as a locally designated historic property, according to chapter 97 of the Connecticut statutes, historic districts and historic properties, section 7-147Q, procedures for establishment of historic properties. H, when it passes such an ordinance or amendment thereof, shall transmit to the municipal clerk a copy of the ordinance or amendment thereof. Such ordinance or amendment thereof shall be recorded in the land records of the municipality in which such real property is located and indexed by the municipal clerk in the grantor index under the names of the town of Fairfield, Connecticut, chapter 26 will need, Connecticut, chapter 26 will need to be revised as follows. So I took this paragraph out because I felt that it had too much information.
Yeah.
But maybe,
I would almost just say as per and then just put that paragraph in italics and then let them,
okay,
and then you have passed on the instructions and we have done our job.
okay. So, the last sentence that I kind of, cut myself off, chapter 26 will need to be revised as follows. 26-7.2 designated historic properties. The following properties have been designated as historic properties by the representative town meeting. 1520 Bronson Road, 506 Jennings Road, 5210 Congress Street, 230 Umpqua Road, 449 Mill Plain Road, 1135 Mill Hill Road, 170 Pigwood Avenue, 375 Warner Hill Road, 12 Ermine Street, 554 Tonsas Hill Road, and then I had added and 515 Stilson Road as that is what they needed to revise. But I think that last paragraph, it's better off just the previous.
Yeah, I agree, 100%. And then they don't have to go hunt for what has to be done.
Perfect. So I'll add as stipulated all the way to such property.
Yep.
And I italicize it.
Yep. Now they know that you're not saying it.
So that will be following that second paragraph.
Yes.
Anything else?
I think that was a great ad.
Good.
So let's see. Yes, I think, is there a motion for this letter to go as, we read it with the amendments?
So moved.
Second,
Second.
so Jim and Maura?
Yep.
All in favor? Us? The motion passes.
Go get it.
Thank you.
Trying. So this one's terrible.
The next item in the agenda is a letter to town planning and zoning for a property located at 740 Old Post Road, Fairfield, Connecticut, regarding a proposed scope of work outside of the Old Post Road Historic District. So the Old Post Road Historic District has some properties that only part of the property is incorporated into the historic district. Many of them are the ones that are adjacent to the commercial property, so Brick Walk and all of the Post Road area. So this is one of them that the garage facade and a few feet fall within our scope. However, the proposed work is in the middle, like kind of almost to the middle and the back of the garage, falling outside of historic district boundaries.
Okay.
Make sense?
And the historic district guidelines are really truly, we only touch what's within the boundary.
Correct, yes.
And if a property, if it cuts the boundary, that cuts when it is. Okay. Just want to make sure.
So again, we drafted a letter. It's going to, Mr. Wendell at Town Planning and Zoning. And it says, the owners of 740 Old Post Road will be applying for a permit to renovate and add to the existing garage in their property and have requested our commission confirms if the area of work falls within the purview of the Historic District Commission. While any exterior alterations visible from any public right-of-way, street, or place are subject to a review by the Historic District Commission, only the front portion of the detached garage, including its facade, falls within the boundaries of the Old Post Road Historic District. The proposed area of work at 740 Old Post Road has been confirmed to be outside the boundaries of the Old Post Road Historic District. The Historic District Commission has no jurisdiction to request a certificate of appropriateness for the addition of the existing detached garage that falls outside the boundaries of the Old Post Road Historic District. Any comments?
I think it's great.
Straightforward.
Except there's detached as one T.
And can we lowercase the O in owners?
It's not defined.
Yeah.
Or is it defined?
And then the only other question I have, and it's just to make it more streamlined, so that first, the owners of 740 OPR will be applying for a permit to renovate and add to the existing garage in their property. What if is it better to have the second part of that sentence say, have requested our commission confirms that the area of work falls outside the purview of the Historic District Commission? So it's just more straight and to the point,
Area of work, if the,
that the work, the proposed work falls outside,
I like that better.
that the proposed.
We'll be applying for a permit to renovate or?
No, I mean, we can leave that.
Okay.
I think that that second part of the sentence just, it's too
Defined.
more to the point, more definitive.
Confirms that the area of work falls.
That the proposed work
Falls.
Because the area could be too vague.
yeah, outside the purview of the Historic District Commission,
Proposed work falls.
outside the purview. Other than that, I think it looks great.
So is there a motion to write this letter with the changes that were discussed?
I'll make the motion to write the letter with the changes discussed and submit to P&Z.
I'll second.
All in favor? The motion passes.
My copy too, just.
The next item in the agenda is to draft a letter to Town Planning and Zoning for a property located at 669 Harbor Road in Southport regarding the FEMA flood protection variance. I had shared with the commissioners a draft letter that Attorney Fallon had suggested. And from that letter, we took the time to figure out a more streamlined way for the commission to provide the input. So the letter reads as follows. Dear Mr. Wendet, at the public meeting held on February 13, 2025, the Historic District Commission had a presentation from the Pequot Act regarding the potential alterations to the senior clubhouse, 669 Harbor Road, and the associated FEMA compliance. The structure has been listed on the State Register of Historic Places since 1966 and on the National Register of Historic Structures since 1971. As it is also located in the Southport Local Historic District, it also falls under the jurisdiction of the Fairfield Historic District Commission, as it is located in the Southport Historic District. Any exterior alterations to 669 Harbor Road that are visible from any public right-of-way, street, or place will require a certificate of appropriateness and therefore subject to a review by the Historic District Commission. The commission was made aware that the scope of the work is such that it will require compliance with applicable FEMA standards, unless an exemption for such standards is granted. Communities may exempt historic buildings from the National Flood Insurance Program, substantial improvement and substantial damage requirements through their definition of substantial improvement, or can issue variances for historic structures to minimize the adverse impacts of NFIP requirements on the historic integrity of historic structures. The granting of a variance should be based on a structure-by-structure review to determine whether elevation to or above the base flood elevation will destroy the historic character or design of the structure. While the Fairfield Historic District Commission does not have jurisdiction over the state or national register, requiring the Pequot Yacht Club to meet FEMA compliance will affect the character defining features of the building that make it not only a contributing resource on the registers, but also to the local district. Likewise, it will affect the streetscape and alter the historic nature of its architectural type. As a result, the Fairfield Historic District Commission recommends and requests that the Town Planning and Zoning Department grant the Pequot Yacht Club a variance for this work. Are there any comments?
I have a,
Yeah, I do too.
no, you go first.
Just to add the word club right in the very beginning.
Yep.
Yacht Club.
Yep.
And then the last portion of the first paragraph, after district commission, just put a period. As it's located in Southport Historic District, it's just repetitive to what's already stated. And that's all.
Yes.
All right, so I'd like to propose that we flip the first sentence to at the public meeting held on February 13th, 2025, Pequot Yacht Club presented potential alterations to the senior clubhouse and the associated FEMA compliance to the Historic District Commission.
Yeah, that reads better.
I think it's more streamlined. Also, in the last sentence, to take out the second also. And then first sentence of the second paragraph, if we want to use the actual terminology from the Connecticut state statutes, it's public way, street, or place. Right of way is something different, so I would take out right of way. I would take out right of and just make it public way, street, or place. Also, in the middle, FEMA standards unless an exemption from such standards is granted. I think we could take out from such standards, it's repetitive. And then the only other thing, and I don't know what the process would be. And I said this in the meeting too, that I think we need to be careful about how we phrase things for the simple fact that if any of these things were to come to pass, we would have to look at that application. So I think we need to be very careful about how we word that last paragraph. I think it's probably fine. because we want to make sure that we're still coming across as unbiased, because we would have to look at that. Yeah, we'd have to review it. So I think for me, I don't have a problem at all. I would like to see them get a variance of, or an exemption if possible, because I think it changing anything, that type of architecture is so simple, historically, that changing it changes its character defining features. So I don't know if we need to like just double check that phrasing.
So wait,
With-
what phrasing are you?
I'm just worried about this last paragraph because I want to make sure that we're saying we support this, but we still are, we're not passing judgment on any work that may or may not be done, because we have to remain unbiased if it comes before us.
So why don't we say as proposed?
Because that, if
As proposed, as we are aware of as of today's date. Or-
because if it comes unchanged to us as a COA, then we've like kind of made a comment about what it looks like before we actually get an application.
So
I have a
you're,
quick comment. on
Yeah.
that. I agree. And,
Valente.
yeah, thank you.
I think he should introduce himself.
Meet you.
Hi.
Greg Valenti, newly elected Historic District Commissioner alternate. Let me, yeah, I'll stay an alternate until they'll have me longer. Yeah, so I agree with you. The only thing I was putting in here is how much of a lean in do we have relative to what's happening with FEMA? There's a comment here, subject to review, right, by the Historic District Commission. One of the things we could say is that review would not begin until FEMA completes the review of the process. The only thing is that if we're trying to lean in, meaning, in my opinion, if we're trying to lean in and support the fact that it impacts the historic condition of it, that's representing that we've already done a review somewhat, that they brought it forward. So I don't want to,
That's my
someone
issue.
that's on the call may say, hey, what you're doing is if you write that in there, you're going to absolve me from having that. We've already brought it to you for review and you're taking in consideration that the event did happen. However, one of the things that does relieve us potentially is in the event that we do represent that there is a review, that review needs to be withstanding or still has the opportunity to almost be restarted in some way from the beginning. There's been some portion of work that's been done so far in 2 meetings, as far as I know. I apologize if it's been longer. Yeah, but if there hasn't been, we also reserve the right in order, or I didn't say the right, maybe the opportunity in order to review this at the time of when FEMA completes their process.
So I think I understand what you're saying. So basically what's happened is they've not presented a plan to us. They've just kind of come to us and said, look, the improvements that need to be made because it's such a simple structure will automatically kind of trigger FEMA, because even though they're not huge changes, they trigger that 50%, substantial change. So we haven't seen anything from them. They haven't brought a COA. They've just told us this is the current issue that we're having. We would like to pursue an exemption. Can you write a letter on our behalf saying that you support that? And all I'm trying to do is to make sure that if and when that application comes before us, we're still viewed as being unbiased and we're not weighing in on any external changes that may or may not happen. We don't have jurisdiction on the inside, so they could.
So we still hold the opportunity in order to do the review that we would normally do.
Yeah.
However, in the preview, I guess is the way that I look at this, an initial review of this of some kind, however you want to
Yeah.
review that, and the initial, in
Discussion, yes.
discussion that occurred could have outlined that there was a area of historic concern.
And that's, I just want to make sure that this last paragraph is clear enough that we're concerned that substantial exterior
Yeah.
changes could affect that character defining feature. And of course, should that need to happen, we would be happy to review it and, you know,
So in a way, we're not approving, we're alerting.
we're saying, just so you're
We're
aware,
alerting.
this is kind of like a barn outhouse type of structure. Any changes is going to significantly alter what that building's original.
And we're
That's-
telling that we care deeply. So
Yes.
Please don't do anything.
And it's also, the main reason is for them to be granted the variance,
Exemption. Yeah.
Right.
so that they don't have to do everything that might be projected.
But
Ma-
because they haven't told us exactly what they're doing, no one can say it's approved.
Is trying to say something.
Madam Chairman, can I just offer one comment on the letter so that the purpose of, I think, what you're trying to do, and that is, there's a difference between variance and exemption. The letter, our request, and what I think you're doing is, at Mr. Wentz suggesting, indicating that you support the exemption of this structure from FEMA compliance. If you use the word variance, that's going to confuse it, because if they don't grant an exemption of the FEMA requirements, then we would have to go to the Zoning Board of Appeals for a variance. So it's a different term of art. So respectfully and with appreciation of all the time you've spent for us on this, if you could craft a letter to make sure that the reference is to supporting the request for exemption.
That's
from
what it
FEMA
says, and I
rights.
used the
Yeah.
wrong term.
Not, but
I-
in the letter, as I read it, I heard it, I
It says
thought at one
variance.
point or
Oh,
another,
where-
there's reference to
Oh, I
variance.
To the
see.
very end
So-
also. the
Yep.
last
So
sentence.
just wherever it says variance, respectfully, if you could make that exemption, then I think we're accomplishing both the club and the commission what we're trying to do, which is endorse an exemption from FEMA requirements, rather than suggesting that we should have to go to the ZBA
So
for
the
a
last-
variance
last line.
from FEMA requirements. Thank you.
There's two in that paragraph.
Thank you so
Last-
much.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Thank
there's
you.
one in the middle too.
Yep.
So going back to that second paragraph, any exterior alterations to 669 Harbor Road that are visible from any public way, street, or place will, take out B, require a certificate of appropriateness and therefore be subject to a review by the Historic District Commission. The commission was made aware that the scope of work, and then I would take out, is such that it would, that the scope of work,
You just say scope of
Would.
work would
yeah,
require.
would require.
Take all those.
I got
words
too
out.
excited with scratching things out with my pen. Would require compliance with applicable FEMA standards unless an exemption is granted. I think from such standards could be
Yes.
taken out.
Yep.
Communities may exempt historic buildings from the National Flood Insurance Program. And then instead of commas, I just put that in parentheses. Substantial improvement and substantial damage requirements through their definition of substantial improvement or
I think.
I
the
think that's-
sentence
that's-
can
Need to be
yeah,
broken
yeah.
up.
We can remove maybe,
yeah, that second part.
yes.
Substantial damage requirements and can issue an exemption for historic structures. This would minimize,
So I think
to minimize the adverse impact.
to eliminate the whole variance thing, I believe this whole section deals with the variance.
Yeah.
So maybe from communities
exemption.
on, we might be able to just eliminate it.
Where are you
altogether.
looking? Just that middle,
So we finished the paragraph with granted.
okay.
Yeah,
And then eliminate communities may accept historic buildings from National Flood Insurance Program, eliminate all of that. Because all, that entire thing, it's about variances.
Okay,
Good point.
take that out.
Yep, then go right to the granting of an exemption.
While the Fairfield, oh, do you want to keep that last line too?
Oh,
The granting of an exemption, or
I think it should.
that exemption.
Instead of variance. So while the Fairfield Historic District Commission does not have jurisdiction over the state or national register requiring the Pequot Yacht Club to meet FEMA compliance will affect the character defining features of the building that make it not only a contributing resource to the registers, but also to the local district. Likewise, it will affect the streetscape and alter the historic nature of its architectural type. As a result, the Fairfield Historic District Commission recommends and requests that the Town and Planning Zoning Department grant the Pequot Yacht Club an exemption for this work.
Yep.
Want to go from the top, or do you
Yeah.
feel like you got it?
Oh, no, let's make sure
want me
that
to
we
read
got it. Yeah, go ahead.
At the public meeting held on February 13th, 2025, the Pequot Yacht Club presented potential alterations to the senior clubhouse and the associated FEMA compliance to the Historic District Commission. The structure has been listed on the state register.
How about just regarding the senior clubhouse, because it didn't make it to it. They made it regarding it. When you read it, it sounded like when it said to the senior clubhouse, that's who the presentation was made to. Presentation was made regarding the senior clubhouse.
But it is alterations to the senior clubhouse.
Yeah.
But read that again, because you,
The
At the-
page switched, okay.
Yeah, I marked it all up, so it's hard. At the public meeting held on February 13th, 2025, the Pequot Yacht Club presented potential alterations to the senior clubhouse and the associated FEMA compliance. That reads weird. It's not the,
It's regarding.
yeah, I don't know that I like the word regarding. I think the second part of the sentence.
Pertaining to,
I think you could put a period at the end of the historic, the
I think-
senior clubhouse, and then you say it relates to, well, you know, whatever.
or this alterations pertaining to the senior clubhouse.
You could say the potential alterations to the senior clubhouse, yeah, and the association on the second sentence. Is it only to the senior clubhouse?
Yes.
I like the way it's reworded. It's just now it makes it awkward on to the senior clubhouse.
I don't know that I
Or
agree
will
with.
it be alterations to the senior clubhouse regarding FEMA compliance?
Yes.
That's good, because it's sharp.
All right, so at the public meeting held on February 13th, 2025, the Pequot Yacht Club presented potential alterations to the senior clubhouse. I don't feel like regarding is the right word, regarding FEMA compliance to the Historic District Commission. The structure has been listed on the State Register of Historic Places since 1966 and on the National Register of Historic Structures since 1971. It is also located in the Southport Local Historic District and falls under the jurisdiction of the Fairfield Historic District Commission. Any,
If you don't like the regarding, just change it to pertaining to.
I don't like that either.
Okay. I'll be
There's
my
gotta be-
thesaurus next time.
No, it's,
It's almost just like.
the whole sentence just needs to be.
It needs work because I feel like you have this big lead up and then it's like regarding FEMA compliance, but that's the guts of
Yeah,
it
it's
is the
important.
FEMA compliance. It just feels like it's dangling at the end of it.
Public meeting held on February 13th. The Historic District Commission.
Say it again, read it again.
I've marked it up so much, I don't.
Okay.
At the public meeting held on February 13th, 2025, the Pequot Yacht Club presented potential alterations to the senior clubhouse that could trigger FEMA compliance, that could,
And
That will require
need it.
FEMA compliance.
need a computer to work this out. I can't.
potentially require.
That could potentially require, then get rid of the first potential. I'm just gonna type it out because it's easier for me to see at this point. Word. On February 13th, 2025, the Pequot Yacht Club presented to the senior that would, what was the,
That can potentially require FEMA compliance. Or just say that potentially require FEMA compliance. You don't have to say can.
Yeah, just a quick comment. The only thing that we took out, we ended up taking out the Historic District Commission was present. And do we want to make note that the presentation happened to us?
yeah, I'm just trying to type it up.
We'll
Yeah,
admit that I know it's getting a little.
it's all worked up. I can't read it anymore. So on,
Totally.
oh, geez, sorry. On February 13, 2025. How about, on February 13, 2025, the Pequot Yacht Club presented to the HDC a series of alterations to the senior clubhouse that
Potential alterations.
that
But
could
don't say series.
potentially-
Sounds like we had, they gave
Oh,
us specific.
that's true.
details.
You're right.
Madam Chair,
Yes.
if it's not inappropriate, since just to help with what we're trying to do, what I would suggest you might think about with something like, at the meeting on such and such date, the Pequot Yacht Club advised the commission that alterations being contemplated on the senior clubhouse will require FEMA compliance. Because and then from there you go to talk about the, what's already in the letter, which is your support of exempting them from FEMA compliance, because that's really what we did. We informed you that our preliminary contemplated improvements to the senior clubhouse will require FEMA compliance. That's what we really said, and then we go on to ask you for the reasons we said to exempt it.
We can't say that because you didn't give us enough detail to say that it would. You just said it potentially could.
Well, that would be fine too, if you just said would the club advise you that improvements to the senior clubhouse will potentially require compliance with FEMA's standards or whatever. Just a thought.
So on February 13, 2025, the Pequot Yacht Club notified the Historic District Commission that alterations to the senior clubhouse would potentially require FEMA compliance.
There you go.
Yeah, I think that's fine.
The structure has been listed on the state Register of Historic Places since 1966 and on the National Register of Historic Structures since 1971. As it is also located in the Southport Local Historic District, it falls under the jurisdiction of the Fairfield Historic District Commission.
Yes.
Yeah.
All
Don't
right.
need the rest of it. Yeah. Yep. Go on, sorry.
Do you want me to read the rest? Or we can
Sure.
read the rest?
Yeah, let's do the rest.
Sure.
We got
Any exterior alterations to 669 Harbor Road that are visible from any public way, street, or place will require a certificate of appropriateness and therefore be subject to a review by the Historic District Commission. The commission was made aware that the scope of work would require, this is repetitive to what's up there now.
Yep.
So then that was it, because we
Except-
eliminated.
No, the
No.
exemption, we have to work up.
Yeah. The commission was made aware that, again, we have to say potentially the scope of work would require compliance with applicable FEMA
Wait.
standards.
So on February 13, 2025, the Pequot Yacht Club notified the Historic District Commission that alterations to the senior clubhouse would potentially require female compliance unless an exemption
Granted
is
by, that's
the PZ.
thing, right?
um, Town. What? Commission.
Department.
Commission.
Well, we say department here, so we have to switch that.
Department or commission? Commission, right? Because the commission would have to vote on it.
Commission.
It says commission in the headline.
Yeah.
heading, So
Okay, so how about, so what if we switch this? we make it more concise. So on February 13th, 2025, the Pequot Yacht Club notified the Historic District Commission that alterations to the senior clubhouse would potentially require FEMA compliance unless an exemption is granted by the Town Planning and Zoning Commission. Actually, I spelled wrong. The structure has been listed on the State Register of Historic Places since 1966 and on the National Register of Historic Structures since 1971. It is also located in the Southport Local Historic District, making it subject to jurisdiction of the Fairfield Historic District Commission. What if we take out that middle thing now completely and just say, while the Fairfield Historic District Commission does not have jurisdiction over the state or national register, requiring the Pequot Yacht Club to meet FEMA compliance would affect the character defining features of the building that make it not only a contributing resource in the registers, but also to the local district. Likewise, it would affect the streetscape and alter the historic nature of its architectural type. As a result, the Fairfield Historic District Commission recommends and requests that the Town Planning and Zoning Department Commission grants the Pequot Yacht Club an exemption for this work. Any work that is, and then we put something in, any work that is undertaken would be subject to a COA.
Yes. Perfect.
Yes, because we need to put the COA somewhere.
I think that's right at the end. No, that's crystal clear.
Okay. Any work. Okay,
Much clearer.
Yeah, I like it a lot.
all right. Rosina, would it help if I just typed up my notes?
Go for it. Do you have this? Do you have all those changes?
There's some significant paraphrasing happening.
Secretary.
I think it's more succinct. Yes, job.
Right.
Structure.
Yep.
Instead of the structure, can I say the senior clubhouse? House has been
I
listed.
don't understand whether, yeah, the structure meaning,
The senior clubhouse as a substructure, and that's what we were presented, so we should stay with what they told us.
One. It is located.
It's much easier to read too.
Want to read it one more time or to make sure?
Do you want me to finish reading it?
up, and then we can take a look, yeah.
It's much shorter.
Circulated.
Thank God you're typing it. I would still be able to.
In regarding
I didn't know how
potential,
eighth grade typing class was.
we modified alterations with improvements. Or we didn't,
We did not do.
okay, did we leave it as alterations?
Well, that's essentially what, I mean,
Yeah.
It's alternating.
I think it's a little,
Alterations is moving furniture, in my opinion, but improvements is a little more substantial, but that's a personal.
think of it as improvements, it's like
Yeah,
fixing.
yeah.
The thing was so vague.
Yeah.
It's- it affects. Sorry, I'm not typing fast.
Just all glad.
Did we go through the other two items?
Yes.
Okay,
I think we did.
Yeah.
cool.
The. Likewise. Turn this. Are you talking to me?
No, keep it.
Who's John Fallon?
John Fallon.
Okay,
He's the attorney.
okay, I didn't, okay, it says copy John Fallon. I don't know if he would put Esquire.
Whatever you prefer.
How he fits in.
Whatever is typically an attorney has a,
Here we can add it.
you know.
Well, you should say attorney for.
Yeah. Mhm.
Exemption for this work. What was the last sentence? All work to be undertaken will be subject to the.
To a certificate of appropriateness.
HDC COA.
Don't let it.
District commission, sorry, I forgot to silence that. Okay. Ready?
Yes.
I'm probably have to fix them. On February 13, 2025, the Pequot Yacht Club notified the Historic District Commission that alterations to the senior clubhouse, 669 Harbor Road, would potentially require FEMA compliance unless an exemption is granted by the Town Planning and Zoning Commission. The senior clubhouse has been listed on the State Register of Historic Places since 1966 and on the National Register of Historic Places since 1971. It is also located in the Southport Local Historic District and therefore falls under the jurisdiction of the Fairfield Historic District Commission. While the Fairfield Historic District Commission does not have jurisdiction over the state or national register, requiring the Pequot Yacht Club to meet FEMA compliance would affect the character defining features of the building that make it a contributing resource to both the registers and the local district. Likewise, it would affect the streetscape and alter the historic nature of its architectural type. As a result, the Fairfield Historic District Commission recommends a request that the Town Planning and Zoning Commission grant the Pequot Yacht Club an exemption for this work. All work to be undertaken will be subject to a certificate of appropriateness application reviewed by the Fairfield Historic District Commission.
In the sentence that you said, Register of Historic Places since 1966, and on the National Register of Historic Structures.
It's historic places.
Places?
They're both places. That's it.
Motion to approve.
Sorry, there was.
No, she was going to make a
there was
motion.
One, Attorney Fallon made a note that the notification of the presentation happened at what he believed, a meeting. And the reason why meeting may be important here, because it formalizes that they actually took the time to bring it forward at a historic district meeting.
So then,
Yeah,
do we want to say at a public meeting?
The Historic District Commission public meeting.
Or
on-
do we want to say on February 13, 2025, the Pequot Yacht Club notified the Historic District Commission at a public hearing
Yes.
that a public hearing. That alterations to the senior clubhouse,
is
669.
this what we call these meetings hearings, or do we call them? Yeah, okay,
Yes, they're hearings.
okay, fair enough. Yep. Okay, is that good? Attorney Fallon?
Sorry, so yes,
Okay.
yes, that's
That's what
fine.
he was
Thank you.
thinking on the meeting, making it formal, that, because we got formally addressed.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
any
that's-
other
that's
comments?
I don't think
No, is there a motion to approve the letter as drafted?
Motion to approve as drafted.
1 second.
That's read.
So Maura and Doreen, all in favor? The motion passes.
Please say.
Thank you very much.
Okay, yep.
I didn't.
There are,
Good with that?
there are no other items in the agenda. So is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Anyone seconds?
Second.
Okay.
My first second.